Prior to 2022, director Ryan Coogler was on my list of directors who have yet to have a bad day at the office. Between the emotionally riveting Fruitvale Station, the incomparable legacy sequel of Creed, and creating one of the finest Marvel films in the first Black Panther, the guy was on a roll. With that said, I acknowledge that the tragic circumstances of Wakanda Forever were out of his control, so I put an asterisk beside my mixed feelings toward that movie. And while I wasn't a fan of it, it was by no means a disaster, which is an impressive feat considering the emotional and creative toll it undoubtedly took on Coogler to rewrite the sequel from scratch. Even in the realm of the studio-driven Marvel Cinematic Universe, Coogler's distinct voice manages to shine through. His ability to craft stories that are as universal as they are personal, creating stories which appeal to large audiences while still remaining true to his roots as a black man from Oakland. It's a voice which shines through whether he's directing a real life story, a legacy sequel, or a Marvel adaptation. But if there's one thing he'd yet to do, it's create an entirely original film. Until Sinners. Set in 1930s Mississippi, Sinners stars Michael B. Jordan and Michael B. Jordan as the Smokestack Twins, infamous World War I veterans who have drifted in and out of the lives of their loved ones, including their cousin guitarist Sammy, Smoke's wife Annie, and Stack's ex-girlfriend Mary. Together, the Smokestack Twins set out to open a juke joint for their fellow community members, a dream which they managed to effectively realize until the arrival of a group of vampires, led by Jack O'Connell's Rennick. Between the 98% critic score and the insane social media reactions, Sinners is by all accounts a resounding success, connecting with everyone from audiences to critics. Everyone except me, it seems, who found this to be a wildly uneven, underwhelming horror film which might just be the most overrated movie of the decade. I love when a movie is masterfully able to switch genres to the point where it feels like one movie has essentially become another. A good example of this would be the movie Parasite, which shifts from a comedy satire into a chilling thriller before ending on an emotional horror. The reason such a genre shift works is because of Bong Joon-ho's deft hands, which guides us to each destination as if it were the only natural conclusion. Ryan Coogler pointed to Metallica's One as an inspiration for Sinners, a piece of music which starts melodic and then explodes, but once it does, you realize the entire piece has been building up to this explosion the entire time. Except there's nothing naturalistic about the switch from period piece drama to horror vampire film in Sinners. Instead, it feels like Ryan Coogler had ideas for two separate films, couldn't decide which one to make, and therefore decided to impulsively slap the two together. There's barely any hint of the vampires in the first half of the movie, and their introduction feels unearned to a fault. With that said, once it does transform into a vampire thriller, the question becomes, does it become a good one? Not at all. This section of the film feels like it lasts for 30 minutes. If tension is all about stretching the rubber band as far as you can before it snaps, then this movie wastes too much of its time searching for the rubber band to leave itself any time to do something with it. The writing does a solid job fleshing out its supporting cast, but as far as the two leads go, Michael B. Jordan's strong dual performance doesn't change the movie's failure to get me to care for the safety and well-being of either character. It's hard to care about two characters who care only about their immediate circle while seemingly bulldozing everything else in their wake, especially when they don't seem to treat their immediate circle particularly well either. And I'm all for unlikable characters, but I think horror is probably the hardest genre to pull such a character off. It's a genre where you're meant to root for the character's survival, and that's pretty hard to do when you've got two characters with barely any redeeming qualities. qualities. While a movie like Creed focused on the theme of legacy with laser precision, Sinners presents us with a mishmash of ideas while refusing to commit to one. That's not to say there's anything wrong with focusing on numerous different things. Creed also touched on themes of identity and determination, but it's important for every writer to identify a core theme, which I quite honestly can't say exists in Sinners. A movie which focuses on the power of music and art, cultural appropriation, racism, the notion of sin, and that's a mouthful. Though it's leagues below the cinematic masterpiece it's been described as, the best I can say about Sinners is that as a technical piece, it excels. The period recreation is stunning, the performances ranging from Haley Steinfeld to Miles Cadden to Delroy Lindo are on point, and though it's far from one of his best works, Ludwig Göransson's score is pretty great. There's been a lot of praise pointed toward a particular anachronistic musical segment which shows how music can blur the lines between past, present, and future, which just might be worth the hype. Yeah, I think the glowing reaction towards Sinners points to a larger problem in movie discourse. It's hard to go a second sentence in a Sinners review without someone praising the film for being an original creation in a sea of IP rehash slop. It's hard to go a third sentence without someone praising its conceptually unique take on vampires. Yet, it's hard to find anyone who is genuinely willing to praise how this movie builds tension, because it doesn't particularly do a good job. It's hard to find someone who can effectively articulate how this movie blends genres, but because it doesn't really do it well, there's nothing much to say. And so my question to my fellow film fans is this: are we willing to reward a movie on concept alone without any regard for whether or not such a concept is handled well? Should we praise ambition for ambition's sake? Do we praise any technically original film even if its original premise ends up in the same generic horror film we've seen countless times before? The answer for me is no. And for that, I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more weekly TV and movie reviews. And if you've had the chance to watch Sinners, let us know what you thought about it in the comments below. I'm Cinemike, and I'll see you next time.